thing. Well, welcome back to the next episode of With the Chiefs. Today, we are excited to have another guest on for the How to Be a Better Runner series. Today, we're going to be looking at how to train effectively, and we've got with us the coach of Delta Running, one of the upcoming elite running groups in Sydney, Jérôme Dupuy. I've got your last name right there, Jérôme, or
well,
how is the
you got my
pronunciation?
first name right, so that's 50% on, but that's all right. That's all good, Dom. Yeah, thank you very much for having me, boys. I really appreciate the opportunity to be to be part of the up and coming podcast in the running scene as well.
Thanks, mate. It's a pleasure to have you on. Delta, I think it's about 40 or 50 people training with the squad, and you're coaching 11 people as well at the moment.
Yeah, that's right. So the squad is Delta Running Project. So the squad is 3-year-old now. What started as running group or running collective, quickly became a running club. So which is very exciting to see the growth. So we started with maybe 4 or 5 guys, smashing sessions together. We were all at the same level, and people joined us, and now we have 40, 50 people joining on our Tuesday morning session at Gore Hill in North Sydney, maybe up to 100 people turning up regularly, being part of the group on and off. And so for them, there's I'm providing some general indication of session or group session to do. And on top of that, I am effectively coaching, being online coaching or otherwise, up to 10 12 people at the moment, which is very 10K race, marathon, 5K or marathon. So that's keeping me busy.
Awesome. And what else is going on with you at the moment?
So what is going on? Obviously running wise, they're growing Delta, or or building a positive group there. From a work perspective, I'm also quite busy. I have a legal manager position in a law firm that's quite require a bit of my time too. Personally, my wife is 8 months pregnant now, waiting our first. So
it's busy, very, very busy.
Bring it on. So it's full on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on then. Sounds like
I appreciate that.
A crazy schedule, yeah.
Oh, it's actually giving me a break,
And what about your running? Are you training for anything at the moment? How's the running training going, juggling all of that?
Look, I've been running for quite some time now, for maybe 15, 16, 17 years. When I say running, I mean having like a proper schedule and training regime and follow. So I'm quite battered and a bit tired, and I find a lot of kind of joy and energy developing the group aspect and seeing people achieving good results in running. So that's where all my energy is focused on at the moment, helping other achieving good results in running. But in terms of my own running, I keep the tab on, still trying to keep fit. Just keeping a routine of Monday easy run, Tuesday session, Wednesday medium long run, Thursday easy, Friday session, Saturday easy, Sunday long run. So that's the base. I normally try to take 1 day off every 2 weeks.
Okay.
To rest of training. I bolt volume onto that and intensity. But yeah, in terms of race coming up, I think the Run New South Wales 10K, the 1st of May.
Oh yeah.
Will be which is the road is always a big event, very well attended, and it's great to have kind of mass participation. So that would be a good target for me and many others.
Pretty fast course there, definitely. It's a good one to target.
Slightly downhill as well. It's pulls
slightly
out
downhill.
of the gate,
right.
which is fun. It's just the first K, the first K.
Oh
is
yeah,
slightly
absolutely.
downhill.
Yeah.
But the course, but it's great. So I'm looking forward to this one. And here and there would probably be a few 5K to target. Obviously, the New South Wales State Championship on 12th of Feb.
Yeah.
Which I will not race on, but that we are targeting. And it's a classic. You have Canberra Half. The 10K after that, Gold Coast.
Yeah.
Some of the guys will be doing Boston Marathon as well.
Are you
cool.
Are there any runners that you're particularly keen to kind of see perform in these upcoming events? Is there anyone you're coaching at the moment who is an exciting prospect, or
from my guys? I guess probably even more so at marathon level. Because it's a marathon is a huge commitment in terms of time, in terms of resources. So when someone is enrolling my services and my coaching for marathon, I take Chris Russell is one of my athletes. He's a very strong runner, and still probably a breakthrough when it comes to marathon running. And so I hope I can help him achieve that. The same way I was able to do so, helping one of my good mates, Romain Petron, who ran a 2:42 at Hobart.
Oh, awesome.
And it was just great, especially like probably close to a 10-minute PB. So from a coaching perspective, it also gave me the reassurance that I could make it work.
Yeah, definitely.
And the way we made it, we made it work was through having a clear plan, having a good 3 months of work ahead of us. Throwing strong sessions, making sure there was enough rest, and I'm applying the same formula as well with Chris.
Yeah.
And hopefully there'll be fireworks.
Yeah, looking forward to it. That's exciting stuff for Chris.
Yeah.
What about you, Smitty? How's your last week of training going?
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's picking up. I'm actually finally starting to feel like fitness is coming along well. As I said to you this morning, Dom, I did a session, threshold session, so 20 minutes and then 4 minutes jog and 18 minutes back on threshold, and the pace was good. It's a nice feeling when it starts to come together. I can't tell how much that's attributed to the cooler weather, because the previous week it was humid. It makes a massive, massive difference. I was able to run like probably I think it was like more than 5 seconds a K quicker.
Wow.
Only a week difference. So it's nice when that happens. But in terms of race, I finally picked a race. I think I'm going to attack Canberra Half, which is good.
Nice.
Yeah. So I want to attack a PB. Hopefully, just put in, I think it's 8 weeks away. So I want to focus on just getting 8 solid weeks of training consistently and peak around the right time. But it's nice to get my head around an actual race as opposed to just training for base fitness. It's good to have that goal. So
definitely.
I'm going to bring it up in terms of the mileage for the next week, and just try and give it a bit more structure. But that's what's happening with me at the moment. What about you, Dom?
Yeah, thanks, Smitty. Training for 6 foot at the moment. The last week was a bit of a down week. I think work was a bit stressful, so probably didn't run as much as I would have liked to in the past few weeks. But I felt like I was pretty run down and needed a bit of a rest anyway. So I don't know, it kind of worked out that I didn't run as much. And there's also a race on Saturday, the Sun Run from DY to Manly. And I think, I don't know, everyone's been whinging about it being super windy and hilly, and I can confirm it was super windy and hilly. I ran okay. Like, I think it's the second fastest time I've ran on that course. And I finished about where I thought I was going to finish. So yeah, I think I'd give myself
you did
probably
good.
Yeah,
good.
It was solid.
I was happy with it. It was good. Yeah. So yeah, back into it this week. I had a good training session yesterday as well, Smitty, with a bit of
Nice.
cooler weather, which
On
is
the leg.
always good. Looking forward to it. Another big week this week. Training for 6 foot.
You were in no man's land in the race as well, weren't you, Dom?
Yeah, like knowing how windy it was, I went out with the front guys, and I just tried to like tuck in for as long as I could. I knew I was a little bit out of my depth, but I thought maybe I can just I don't know, get a bit of benefit in like tucking in behind someone. But it didn't work out too well because at about 5Ks I was on my own and couldn't keep up with the front guys. It was just a bit of a solo struggle through the wind for the rest of the race. I didn't fall apart or anything. So I was pretty happy with how I ran, and like mentally just not giving in when you're on your own is pretty hard sometimes. So
You finished strong as well, Dom, looking like you weren't actually worse for wear, just charging to the finish line, which was good to see.
I could see they had a big clock on the finish line, and there was like 33:58, 33:59, and I was like trying to get under 34 minutes, but I think I ended up running 34:04, so didn't quite work out.
Okay.
So the tailwind.
The wind was brutal though. But anyway, so Jerome, we were going to ask, when you have a beginner runner sort of join, but I think where you target, just based on getting a little bit more knowledge about Delta, you kind of look at a little bit more the elite or sub-elite, or taking experienced runners and sort of extracting the most performance out of them. So is that accurate? Or and I guess and I guess if that's the case, when someone comes to you, what's the first thing you're thinking about when you're trying to develop a program for them? How do you normally approach it?
Thank you for that question. It depends on the runner actually. It's all about getting a very good understanding of the type of runner they are, because obviously you will approach your coaching very differently, whether it's someone completely new to running, just trying to run a 5K, to someone who's already an experienced runner and trying to shave a few seconds of his or her 10K PB, for instance. But the common things for these two type of runner is having a clear understanding of what they're trying to achieve, and based on that, having an understanding of their running history. Obviously, if they're not a runner, they won't have any running history, so it's all about developing a bit of a plan which is manageable at the first, in the first instance, that they can enjoy and build on. And for the experienced guys is trying to find the ways you can improve on speed And again, developing a manageable program with tailored session is for me is the goal. And if I was to give an advice to anyone new or not running, if they're not with a running group, or if they should, because you meet like-minded people and it makes running more enjoyable as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think that community aspect's a big part of it. Like for me, for example, I've been training for a long time sort of on my own, and I find when you go out of your comfort zone and you train with other people, it's a massive help, especially I've been fortunate enough to have Dom training with me for so long. Yeah. So I've had free, I always say to Dom, I'm going to get a massive invoice from him for all this coaching he's given me over the years. So that's been good. But in terms of training, so if we dig a little bit deeper in terms of the different types of training sessions, just from a knowledge perspective, how do you look at different sessions in terms of easy running, threshold? How do you break that down?
Yeah, look, it's part of the routine of a proper plan we discussed a bit earlier on. So I mean, everyone is different, but I think the main components of every program should be having some form of interval sessions, having some form of threshold or tempo type of session, and having those long runs and also those kind of easy recovery runs. So just to go maybe a little bit more into detail about each of those type of runs. Obviously easy running is your run at easy pace. You want to be comfortable, to absorb the training load you had the week before, the day before. Then you have those interval sessions. So intervals could be something like 412 by 400 meter reps with some recovery in between, or 5 by 1000 meter sessions that you do at a specific target pace. And the idea is to improve your speed, and so that would be your interval session. You have your tempo session, which help you develop your aerobic capacities. So effectively being able, helping you to run longer, being more comfortable at a faster pace. And your long run, which is quite of essential for distance runner. And long runs could be anything. It all depends of what sort of level you start with. I know some runners qualifying long run as being anything that's 60 minutes. So that's normally for guys training for 3Ks, but other guys will be considering long runs at being 30K plus, and those guys would be running marathons or semi-marathons. So that's the structure. Okay.
In terms of easy run or monitoring sort of effort, do you have your runners use a heart rate strap, or is it sort of go on feel, or how do you, if we're going a little bit deeper into how they determine those efforts, what does it look like in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, it's good to have some scientific information or some data associated with your running, and having your Garmin or watch or any other brand actually, and having heart rate is helpful. Heart rate monitor, I mean, they're not always very accurate, so I like to gauge efforts based on pace, so and also based on feeling as well. So this will be the main thing. That's why I like for those sessions being interval sessions to happen on the track, because 400 meter track, you cannot hide. You have your stopwatch, you have your metric system, and you know where to stand. so there's quite a lot of value of hitting the track for precision training.
Definitely.
That precision training is very important, especially for anyone racing 10K and below. It's less important when you start, doing half marathon and marathon, but
effort's the effort then,
because you need to know whether you have to be like 76 seconds for your 400 meters or whatever it might be.
I think
it's a good point. It's a really good point.
If you look back, a good way that I can tell I'm getting fitter is just comparing previous sessions and paces, especially around threshold. As soon as that pace starts dropping, getting quicker, you know it's a good metric. But heart rate, for example, you can, like for me, I can be at a 184 heart rate and feel okay, or vice versa, be 10 beats per minute slower and just feel like I'm dying. So I guess it's not as accurate.
It's not, and and sometimes you want to stick to a number in your head, saying, "Oh, I need to do that run at under 130 BPM or 150 BPM," and you had a bad night's sleep, or it's hot, and this number is not, you won't be happy with your run because you're feeling that the level of effort you're putting to run at 150 is not what it should feel. So sometimes it causes a bit more upsets than anything.
It's funny, like how mental running can be sometimes. Like you just get in your head so much, like, oh, like I don't know, my heart rate's way too high, or why aren't I running fast enough? Like it can play a massive role in how you perform as well, I reckon.
And I think it's a kind of an untapped or not exploited element of training, actually, all the psychological aspect, so we have all the information about time, speed, lactate threshold, VO2 max, all that kind of stuff, but the mental aspect is very important, especially when it comes to competing. Because you have the race nerves. Some people, are terrible at racing, and other people are amazing at racing. Even though training-wise, there will be a lot of difference between them. So there's a lot to be said about having that kind of grit and that mental strength.
I think just thinking back to some of my races, like in training, I remember doing the Sydney Harbour 10K just maybe 6 months after I started running, and I was doing interval sessions at sort of at race pace, and it feels ridiculously difficult. And then for some reason I get in a race environment and it just like, it feels much, you're running at a pace that's, you sort of go to a different level. I don't know how to describe it. I've talked to Dom about this. Do you have your runners, or have you experienced that where it's completely different in a race? It's like you can reach another gear, I find, at least sometimes. I
mean, some guys are racing, they are born for it. They like to I don't know what's the expression in English, to turn themselves out or inside out.
Oh yeah.
So some of the guys are really like run hard from the gun, and there's not a lot of strategy in their racing. It's just go hard, hold, embrace the pain, and they have amazing results. On the other hand, you have other people that are where you need to look after them a bit more. They're a bit more not high maintenance, but they need to be looked after from that that mental fortitude element. So to make sure that they have a good night's sleep, to make sure that everything is all right, make sure they don't have a stitch during the race, and you can't control all that.
I guess following on from that, how much do you think sort of that mental preparation is done in training? Because I find, at least in some of the longer runs, you really develop that, and through doing so many sessions, you kind of just get better at it? Like you get better at gauging your pain levels and sort of how you feel at different paces. Do you feel that's a big part of training
Absolutely.
as well?
Yeah, preparation. Feeling ready, knowing you're ready is an amazing feeling. And the best feeling is like when you execute the plan to perfection, and you know that you have the fitness level to execute that pace, and that's a great feeling. And you get that feeling by doing the session, by making sure that you're doing all the session at the right time, that you don't skip a beat as well. That's also important. It's okay to miss a session here and there, but knowing that you've done the work is a satisfaction, definitely. A way to benchmark those as well is, the example I will give is, all those kind of hard, long session that you would do with your group of your training partners, where you're all getting fit together. So that really helps as well.
Yep.
When you have like a pool of guys or girls targeting the same race, getting fit together. So yeah, I'm always coming back to the group element, because it's I used to think that running was an individual sport. It's not at all. It's really a collective sport, and not only you can leverage or you can train with your mates, but also they will help you fast track your running in ways, because you have different guys at different age group, some with experience, some with less experience, and you can learn a lot from experienced runners, and avoid some pitfalls, or fast track your running, effectively.
Yeah,
definitely.
So you find people, because that's a good point. People really are willing to, I imagine, would be willing to help each other out and sort of teach each other their
Absolutely.
own. Yeah.
Simplest thing, like you don't do tempo session, or you don't do hill session, you should do that. You can help people by showing them the way of what a good program could be, or even in terms of equipment. This is not a good shoe for you, mate. Just you need to to have the right equipment.
Yeah.
Like things like that. Or you need a rest day. Have you heard about massages? All this kind of stuff. That are often ignored. And for me, for instance, when I started running, it probably took me a few years before I understood the basics of what proper training would really is. And so if as part of my club or as part of my running community, I can help people to shape those precious 2 or 3 years, and be kind of training ready as soon as possible, it's it's a great thing, and I really enjoy sharing that with them.
What about like a running technique? Do you spend much time developing technique, or do you put much focus on it?
Absolutely. Probably more so than the average Joe. Simply because I used to when I trained for my very first marathon back in 2009 now in Dublin. I used to live in Ireland before, and I was a bit of a clueless runner. That was during the stage where I was running by myself. I knew I had to run a lot to do a good marathon. But I was doing 2 sessions a week, which on paper is good, and I was doing a long run on Sunday, which on paper is very good too. But my long run, was probably 35 to 40k.
Wow, that's a big run.
Almost, and I was doing shorter sessions on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then a few easy runs in between. So the balance wasn't right. It wasn't right, and it wasn't the training I was doing wasn't at marathon specific pace as well. And yeah, the point I'm making is like, you know, you always learn from your mistake, you know, and you need to do your mistake, those mistakes as well. But going back to your session, I was running with my headphones and listening to there was no podcast at the time, but I was listening to these chi running techniques. So something that was, you know, developed by Danny Glover in the US. Sounds a little bit gimmicky, but it was extremely effective. And you know, during my long run, I got like 2.5 hours or 3 hours of listening to that all the time. And the principles of chi running are, you know, about running posture, being as efficient as possible, you know, and what does efficiency look like in running, you know. So the guy was giving cues of how to be relaxed, you know, standing tall, relaxed shoulders, slight lean forwards, you know, a running cadence, you know, with the magic number being 180, even though, you know, everyone is a bit different, but 180 as a cadence number per minute. And I was listening to that, you know, every week, you know, during my long runs, and it was so ingrained in me. And I was obviously, you know, applying the principle in the cue he was sharing at the same time. So and so yeah, so when I coach people, I'm always looking at their posture. I'm not saying I have a perfect posture, but I understand the theory of what could be a good, efficient running posture in that way. And it all starts with strong core to enable your legs to be a bit more light and not holding tension in your upper body.
That's really interesting. It's funny how like you hear like one cue sometimes and it just connects with you. Whereas like for other people, like, I don't know, you tell them a cue and it just kind of doesn't really click. And I don't know, I guess everyone's different and has different bodies. So
do you have a cue that you kind of resonate with you on that? That perspective?
Yeah, I've got a friend who is like a sprinter, and he is a sprints coach. And I watched a few of his videos just talking about sprinting and sprint technique. So then I started to just try and apply those to my own running. And I noticed like some things worked, some things not quite. But one of the good ones for me was trying to close the gap between your legs. And I think that just like naturally kind of increases your cadence. So by the time one foot's hitting the ground, you want your other one to already be on its way through.
Yes.
And I felt like that really resonated with me more so than saying like, oh, you got to hit 180 beats or something like that. Whereas that like was just a bit more practical. Like when I'm running, I can focus on bringing my knee through straight away. I don't know. It's interesting. It's just I think it's something that it's a bit kind of artsy, and the debate's still out on how exactly you do it. And I think it's because everyone kind of perceives things differently.
That's interesting. I never thought about it in that much detail. I remember reading once the big thing that helped me with I don't even know if it helps mentally, is feel like you're rolling across, instead of sort of pounding up and down, feel like you're sort of rolling across the concrete or across the ground. That helped sort of think about getting my legs turning over. So that's just one thing that stuck out with me, if that makes sense.
And if we can, I can add on that and on cues. I mean, the three cues I'm sharing, you know, when it comes to running posture. I mean, the first one would be trying to have the top of your head to, trying to touch the clouds. You know, so that's help you to have like a tall posture. The second one is to have the second one would be the lean forward, and the lean is not, making sure that you lean forward so that gravity helps you and you're not falling, ahead of you, but you have gravity helping you to propel you a bit forward. And the lean is not a lean from the neck, but more from your nose, like 1 inch forward from your nose. So that's one. That's number two. Number three is actually try to engage your core. You want to be stable there, like a block, and like having a kite pulling you from the belly button.
Oh yeah.
And actually I said three, but it's actually four. And the fourth one is the one you referred to, Luke. Is like being quick-footed. You don't want to spend a lot of time in contact with the ground, and you have to think about your legs a bit like being the wheel of a bike.
Yeah, that's
that kind of rotating movement. So you peel your heel off the ground, and trying to exert that kind of wheel movements. And if you think about it, wheel is probably one of the most, or the turning element is one of the most efficient way to move forward.
Yeah. Well, interesting.
So yeah, these are my 3+1 cues.
Do you have anything specific on foot striking, just while we're sort of in that topic? Like, was that a bit
Oh yeah, no. Look, I think everyone knows that, like mid-foot, front foot, but mid-foot striking is what needs to be achieved. So yeah, you want that's where you want to land. You don't want to land back. You don't want to land too sideways, right underneath your body, and landing like right on the middle, or like of your foot. So yeah, so that's what I say. But yeah, I don't have a lot more comments on this one. You can see really, when people are kind of struggling, and they're landing on the back of their foot.
Yeah.
It's painful to watch, but at the same time, you try to help people adapt their style, to something which is a bit more effective and efficient for them. You won't be able to correct everyone. You don't want to be too corrective, because correction might be a bit too aggressive. Some people are amazing runners in spite of having their imbalances, in spite of not landing perfectly, in spite of having one of their arm to not be loose enough, or whatever it might be, and it works for them. So sometimes what works, do not disrupt something that's working very well already.
Yeah, definitely. I guess kind of similar to that is like strength training.
Yes,
that kind of like ties in with all that technique and foot striking and how your body's moving. We had Paddy McNamara on, and he said strength training can improve your running performance by 4 to 8%, which I thought was pretty crazy. That's like wearing 2 pairs of next percent. Yeah. What are your thoughts on strength training?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't aware of that stat from Paddy, but yeah, I can believe that completely.
Yeah.
And I think runners spend 4% of their time looked by runners that are starting. Is the stretching element, the strength and conditioning aspect, because they want to run. People want to run. They don't want to don't necessarily want to go to the gym to do this kind of stuff, which is a bit more obscure, so, but it's very important to do so, and it doesn't have to be complicated. I think everyone should be able to while you're running, as a runner, you should be able to, improve on your mobility, improve, balance, and your explosivity, and all that, could be achieved through strength and conditioning. Obviously, the main elements, of strength and conditioning for runners would be core, because you want to have a strong, core to support your weight and being stable and do not collapse. Or lose momentum or lose, technique and efficiency. So you want to have strong core. So exercise, relating to cores, are available for you to do so. Same thing with glutes, which is, massive muscle, that's being used while running. You want that to be quite strong as well. And same apply with the hamstrings. Because they are really loaded, and and if you don't have those basics area reinforced, you may open up yourself to to injury. So it's good to keep on top of it. And as I said, it doesn't have to be too invasive. Even and it's an advice that I've got. I've got from Dave Costello at Right Fit as well. That's I used to see. It's just 2 by 20, 3 by 20 minutes a week. That's what it takes. You do like simple exercise. Keep at it. Consistency. Pays off. It doesn't have to be like long session. If you keep at it, do those little exercises at home, it's possible to to strengthen at home as well. But if you want to see a professional, of course, you can see Paddy, you can see Dave, you can see Ben Liddy, all those guys who know what to do.
Yeah, definitely.
One thing I wanted to circle back on when we're talking about training is just some of your, what are some of your favorite sessions, or do you have like any key sessions you have in mind just to share?
Some of the stable session we do include like I do like a good like 8K to 10K tempo. It's very simple, just a good grind. Just keep your head in it and just wait for it to finish. So I love those grind one. I do like a good hill session as well, or and it could be as simple as 14 or 16 time, 60 seconds up hard, and a bit of a jog down. I do like that. There's always an element of grind as well, but those kind of power type of session are great. But in terms of another session I really love is the Mona fartlek.
Oh yeah.
Those fartlek type of sessions. So Steve Moneghetti, one of the great Australian distance runner legend, came up with this session, which is a very kind of compact 20-minute session. Great value for money type of session. If you're time poor, you only have 20 minutes to do a session. Obviously, you need to do your warm up and cool down, but that session is absolutely awesome because you walk different pace and it's relentless, even though it's quite short. So I really do like that session. So yeah, check it out. What it entails, but it's 2 by 90 seconds with 90-second recovery or float, 4 by 1 minute with 1 minute float, 4 by 30 seconds, 30-second float, 4 by 15 seconds, 15-second float. And usually it's, you start hard for the first 90 seconds and the float, it's not a jog, you keep your heart rate at a solid pace. And at the end of the session, you have some metric coordinates. You have like, okay, I've done 5K in 20 minutes or 6K in 20 minutes, whatever it might be, and that give you a benchmark to progress and to do that session in 6 weeks time and see whether you've improved. So I love this session, and but I think my very best of this session has to be like broken mile.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that. It's quite similar. A bit of a change of pace. It's 1,000 meter on, and by on I mean probably at 5K race pace. 300 meter jog, and you can have the jog at float level as well, and 300 meter hard. I like that, because you don't have a lot of time to recover, during those 300 meters. You have quite a bit of time to think about how hard you want to run those last 300s, and you can do that 4 or 5 times with like 2 minutes recovery in between. So broken mile, I really like that. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
What about do you periodize your training, and kind of does your training change much throughout the season as you're coming into races? Would you put, I don't know, some of those sessions in at certain points throughout the training block that someone's going through?
Yes, good question. Yes is the answer. The structure is pretty much the same all the time for me. Like in terms of Monday to Sunday, I'm pretty much doing like a session every Tuesday. I'm doing a session every Friday, and a long run every Sunday. But yeah, depending on the race, the intensity or the volume or the number of reps will differ, in terms of the session. But yeah, to answer your question about periodization, if you're planning to do a marathon, of course, depending on the sort of base you have, I think at least you need 3 months,
3 months
with a good base, to really reap a good program.
So is that just mostly focused on just mostly focusing on your aerobic capacity?
Yes,
during that base? Yeah,
absolutely. And yes, focusing this aerobic capacity, but if you want to run a fast marathon, you also need to I think you need to run a fast 5K first. That's the way I look at it. The marathon is the end game, of course, but I like to benchmark my guys even before doing a marathon with like some shorter sessions, because you want to see what I'm able to run for 5K, and once you have that kind of 5K reference, you try to help them bring that speed with them for 10, for half, and for full. So while I'm saying yes, you need to do a fast 5K, there will be training like for speed, but with a lot of elements of long volume run during the week as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can pick that up again. So in terms of the periodization, and the marathon training, and the comment I made about you need to run fast 5K before running a good marathon, and I think it applies. So you always need to stay close to speed. Obviously the speed is not as important when you do marathon, but I do like to keep some element of speed, simply because it feels good to go fast, even if you're doing on a marathon build up. And that's why I get the guys to still do a park run here and there, just to gauge where they are, and also it validates the effort they're putting in doing long distance running and long sessions. So and they can still feel the fitness. And I don't know if you've noticed that, guys, but you can see a lot of guys training for marathon and still managing like PBs over 10Ks in the middle of a block, simply because they have that fitness level, and simply because that training is paying off. So it's worth keeping close to speed. But also keeping close to not being injured, which is very important for marathon.
But I think that helps, like having that, having that kind of the speed and the strength. Sorry. I think that helps to keep you injury free.
Yeah, and back to the periodization, the longer the distance, the more prepared you have to be, or the more time you need to allocate for your training. So if you train for 3K, you probably don't need too much. In the 6 weeks, 5 to 6 weeks, you can get sharp. 5K, 10K. Normally 6 to 8 weeks, I think. Obviously, this is just a reference. Everyone's different. But then, for half, probably like 10 weeks, I think, 10 weeks with a base, 10 to 12 weeks, and marathon at least 12, 14 weeks. And so that you have time to slide some kind of recovery week in between the training. Because you want to have that long lead up to a marathon, but you also want to make sure there's enough time to slide some kind of recovery week where the body can absorb the training, recover, and do not burn. You see so many people getting injured like the week before marathon, 2 weeks before marathon, simply because they felt super fit, they wanted to keep going, and that's where you make mistakes as well.
That's a very good point. On the long run specifically, do you do anything? Do you mix in a session or some faster stuff in that session, or do you just kind of take long runs easy for the most part? What's your view on that?
Well, it often depends who's there for the session, for the long run. Long runs can turn into session who you run with.
That's a good point.
Sometimes you have good plan of, great plan of like, I'm going to do my easy long run, super easy. And then, you feel good, the air is fresh, and you have your splitties on, and, and your mate is, running fast, and you're like, okay, it's going to be a fast one now. But, in term, joking aside, in terms of coaching, I really like to utilize long runs, or put session in the middle of long runs, especially if you're time poor. If you have a lot of us would be kind of having normal jobs as well, and may not have time during the week to fully train. So I think it's a good way to not to save time. It's a good way to use long runs, and do a session in the middle of it, and those session, I give, could be like 3x3K with 1K jog in between, for instance.
Yep.
And it gets very specific when it comes to marathon training, where those long runs are effectively used essentially for marathon specific training.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But
funny.
Overall long runs, it's not a bad idea to do a fast finish, the last 20 minutes or the last 25 minutes, of your long run. It's always fun.
Yeah, I remember when we trained for the second marathon, in that block, the focus would be, for me at least, would be on the long run. And training with Dom is interesting because he's obviously at a different level to me. So what felt easy and sort of a maybe sub threshold pace or sub tempo pace for Dom, I just absolutely got slaughtered in those long runs. But I would say it was a big part of how I managed to improve my time in the end, was those long, grindy long runs for the marathon specifically. So I just thought I'd add that. But yeah, thanks for pulling me through those, Dom.
Yeah.
No worries, mate.
It's a good point. I'm a big advocate of discipline, and you want people to follow the plan and to do the long run at the pace they should do their long run. But at the same time, it's always good to have a fast one with friends, it's also a good way to improve and to get out of your comfort zone. I would say that you should do that every weekend, but that's a good way to improve, definitely. Yeah.
And I guess wrapping up, we've been asking everyone what the favorite race that they've ever run was. Is there any race that comes to mind for you as like your highlight race of your career?
I don't know if you can talk about my experience as my running experience career, but I appreciate that. And whilst my career is not over, I have some good fun memories of some good racing.
The best is yet to come.
Look, I enjoy mass running, mass races. And especially on the short stuff. So like there's an event called JP Morgan, which is a lot of fun. In Sydney. It's a kind of hilly but fast 5.6k loop around Sentinel Park in Sydney, and it's mostly a corporate event, but corporate people are quite competitive, and there's some very fast guys, and that time I was off a block of 6 weeks of very solid training, where we did like a lot of track sessions, not specifically for that race, but for another track race that came after the JP Morgan. But I felt sharp. I knew I could go fast. The body was holding well because I was doing all my strengths and conditioning training as well. So that was one of my highlights in Australia, and in Ireland. I had a good experience of racing as well, more so at trail running level. Because I like being in the I like being in the outdoor as well. I won a national like trail series there, and
really, wow,
scalping some good guys, so one of my like, and I was a much younger runner, and I was idealizing some of those guys running with me at the time. And just managed to beat like guys now running 2:17 marathon, which for me was absolute highlight, and back to back 3 weeks in a row. So I knew I was into something there on the trail side of things. So this will be my highlights.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Anyways, thanks for coming on, Jérôme. It's been a really good chat. I think that anyone listening to this will get a lot out of it. Thanks so much for your time, and best of luck with Delta and everyone.
I appreciate that. Thank you for having me today, and long life to the Chiefs. I think you're doing great, guys, and love to see what's next with you boys.